The suicide note lay on the glass desk like a death sentence, the ink still wet under the fluorescent lights. Julian Cross, youngest tech billionaire in Silicon Valley, self-made entrepreneur, Forbes cover star, sat motionless in his ergonomic chair, staring at the words he'd just written. "I'm sorry. I tried." Outside his 30th floor office in downtown Seattle, the city sprawled beneath rain-heavy clouds. Inside, there was only silence and the crushing weight of failure pressing against his chest like concrete. He didn't hear the door open. "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I thought everyone had gone home." Julian's head jerked up. A woman stood in the doorway, one hand on a yellow cleaning cart, her brown eyes wide with surprise. She looked to be in her early 30s, with black hair tied back in a simple bun, and a navy uniform that hung loose on her thin frame. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, but something sharp flickered there. "Understanding, maybe." "You shouldn't be here," Julian said, his voice rough. "I cleaned the top 3 floors. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The woman started backing out, pulling her cart. "I'll come back in an hour." But her eyes had found the note. The glass paperweight. The prescription bottle lying on its side. Their gazes locked, and Julian watched her expression shift. Not shock. Not pity. Something harder. "Don't do it," she said quietly. "Excuse me." She released her cart and stepped inside, the door closing with a soft click. "Whatever you're planning, don't. You don't know anything about." "I know that look." She gestured at the note. "I know what it means when someone writes goodbye letters at midnight. I've been there." Julian felt anger spike through his numbness. "You can't possibly understand. Try me." She crossed her arms, and despite the uniform, despite the cart in the hallway, she held herself with unexpected strength. "You're sitting here in the dark with a suicide note and pills, thinking there's no other way, thinking everyone's better off without you and your problems." Each word hit like a physical blow. "How do you?" "Because 4 years ago, I was parked outside a gas station at 3 in the morning with my daughter asleep in the back seat, thinking the exact same thing. We'd been living in that car for 2 weeks. My ex-husband had vanished with our savings. I'd lost my job, my apartment, everything. I had $17 and a toddler, and I thought maybe, just for a second, that she'd have a better life in foster care than with a mother who couldn't even afford diapers." Her voice was flat, factual, like she was describing someone else's nightmare. "What stopped you?" Julian heard himself ask. She woke up crying. "Wanted her stuffed rabbit." A bitter smile touched her lips. "Such a stupid, small thing. But I realized quitting wasn't mercy. It was just giving up. And I'd never given up on anything before." "This is different. Is it?" She moved closer, eyes locked on his. "You're thinking your company's failing. That there's some scandal. That people depend on you and you're letting them down. That it's too heavy and you're too tired." Julian stared at this stranger who somehow saw straight into his soul. "Someone's been embezzling from the company for months. Cooking the books. The SEC thinks it's me. Tomorrow the board votes to accept a buyout from Titan Industries. They'll strip the company for parts and fire everyone. 2,000 jobs gone. Everything my mother and I built from nothing, destroyed. And I can't stop it. So you'll let them win?" "I'm not letting." "Yes, you are." Her voice turned sharp as broken glass. "You're handing them the victory. They destroy everything you love, and you just disappear? That's not brave. That's not kind. That's making sure you don't have to face the consequences." Anger surged through Julian, hot and almost welcome after hours of cold despair. "You don't understand a damn thing." "Don't I?" She laughed harsh and raw. "I slept in homeless shelters for 9 months. Worked graveyard shifts at 3 different places, and still couldn't scrape together first and last month's rent. Fed my kids cereal with tap water, because milk wasn't in the budget. Don't tell me I don't know what rock bottom looks like." She was at his desk now, palms flat on the glass surface. "But here's what I learned in that hole. The only way out is straight through. Not around it. Not under it. Through it. You face it, you survive it. You come out the other side different but alive. And if I can't, then you try anyway. Because that's what matters, the trying. Not the winning." Silence fell between them, broken only by the hum of the building's ventilation. Julian looked at this woman, this cleaning lady he'd never noticed in 2 years, and saw something he hadn't seen in his own reflection for months. Fire. Determination. Hope. Slowly he reached for the note, tore it cleanly in half. "What's your name?" Julian asked. "Sophia." "I'm Julian Cross." "I know. Your company logo is on my paycheck." She smiled then, transforming her exhausted face into something luminous. "But if you're going to stay alive, Mr. Cross, you need a better plan than whatever landed you here tonight." "I don't have a plan. That's the entire problem." "Then we'll figure one out." She checked her watch. "I've got 30 minutes before I have to move to the next floor. Talk to me. Tell me everything." And because Julian had nothing left to lose, because she'd already seen him at his absolute lowest, because something about her unwavering presence made him feel less alone, Julian Cross started talking. She came back the next night. Julian hadn't expected her to. He'd spent the day in tense conference calls, dodging questions about the financial discrepancies, watching board members avoid eye contact. By 11 that evening, he was back in his office, exhausted and hollow, wondering if ripping up that note had been a mistake. Then came the knock. "Just me," Sophia said, wheeling her cart inside. "Thought you might need company." "You really don't have to. I brought Chinese food." She held up plastic bags. "From that place on Pike Street. When did you last eat something that wasn't from a vending machine?" Julian honestly couldn't remember. Sophia unpacked containers on his desk, pulled up a chair like she owned the place, and looked at him expectantly. "So, any progress on finding your embezzler?" Just like that. As if they were partners. As if the uniform meant nothing. As if they were simply two people solving a problem together. "I think it's Vincent Park, one of my CFOs. He's been pushing hardest for the sale." "Why would he do that?" Titan Industries promised him a C-suite position, but without proof. Sophia opened a container of lo mein thoughtfully. "What would your mother do?" "My mother?" The question caught Julian off guard. She'd probably say I'm not seeing the forest for the trees. Meaning, she always believed business was about people, not profits. That if you take care of your community, everything else follows. "So who's your community?" "Employees. Customers. We make assistive technology, prosthetics, hearing devices, wheelchair innovations. If Titan takes over, they'll jack up prices, cut research and development, move production overseas." Julian stopped mid-thought. "Wait. The users. People relying on our products to live normal lives. If we're sold, they lose access to affordable technology. So people get hurt." "Yes. Thousands of them." Sophia leaned forward. "That's your leverage. The board's voting on money tomorrow, right? Dollars per share. But that's not what your company actually represents. Show them what they're really destroying. The board has legal obligations to shareholders. Do your users know you're being sold? It hasn't been announced. Then announce it. Make noise. You think corporate raiders care about a kid who needs a prosthetic arm? But that kid's parents care. Make everyone see what's at stake." Julian stared at her, his mind suddenly racing with possibilities. A grassroots campaign. Bypass traditional channels, go directly to the people who matter. Show the human cost. Exactly. Stop playing their game. Make them play yours. She handed him a container of orange chicken. "Now eat. Can't fight on an empty stomach." They talked past 2 in the morning. Sophia asked questions that cut through business school jargon to core truths. She challenged Julian's thinking, offered perspectives he'd never considered, and somehow made him believe, for the first time in weeks, that victory was possible. When she finally had to leave to finish her rounds, Julian caught her wrist. "Thank you for coming back. Somebody has to make sure you keep fighting." She squeezed his hand briefly. "Same time tomorrow?" "You really don't have to." "I know. See you at 11, Mr. Cross." Sophia disappeared into the hallway with her cart, leaving Julian alone in his office, staring at the torn pieces of his suicide note in the trash bin, and feeling something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. It became their ritual. Every night that week, Sophia appeared at 11 with food and questions, and that rock-solid presence that made Julian feel less alone. They talked about everything: his mother's vision for the company, Sophia's daughter's personality, the company's mission, her survival story. Julian found himself watching the clock during the day, counting down the hours until 11. He found himself sharing fears and vulnerabilities he'd never voiced to anyone else, opening up in ways that surprised even him. "Tell me about your daughter," Julian said on night 4 after hours of strategizing. Sophia's whole face softened in a way he'd never seen before. "Carmen. She's 7 now. Obsessed with space and absolutely convinced she's going to be an astronaut." "Does she know what you do?" "She knows Mommy works nights so we can have our own place and she can take dance classes. She's proud of me." Sophia's voice filled with fierce love. "And I'm proud of her. She's tougher than any kid should have to be." "You're an incredible mother." "I'm a surviving mother. That's all anyone can be." Sophia studied him curiously. "What about you?" "Family. My mom passed 3 years ago. Cancer. She started this company in our garage when I was in high school." "I'm sorry." "Me too." Julian felt the familiar ache in his chest. She would have known how to handle this crisis. She always did. "Maybe she still does," Sophia said softly. "Through you. You learned from her, right? So part of her is in every decision you make." Something loosened in Julian's chest at her words. "I never thought of it that way." "That's why you need outside perspectives." Sophia stood, gathering their empty containers. "Big day tomorrow. The board vote." "Right." Julian stood too, not ready for her to leave. "Sophia, wait. After tomorrow, after the vote, would you have dinner with me? A real dinner, not takeout in an office?" Sophia hesitated, and Julian saw conflict flash across her face. Want and fear, battling each other. "Let's survive tomorrow first," she said quietly. "One battle at a time." After Sophia left, Julian sat in the dim office and realized with crystalline clarity that he was falling for her. This woman whose last name he didn't know, whose life beyond these midnight meetings was a mystery, who saw through his defenses to the person underneath. Julian wanted to know everything about Sophia. Where she lived, what she dreamed about, what made her laugh. He wanted more than borrowed hours in an empty office. He wanted her. The board meeting was warfare. Julian presented everything. The viral campaign he'd launched over the past 24 hours. Thousands of users flooding social media with testimonials about how the company's affordable technology had changed their lives. Media coverage of the human impact. The stock had actually climbed 3 points on the news. Vincent Park fought back viciously, arguing fiduciary duty and shareholder value, but public pressure was overwhelming. Major news outlets had picked up the story. Disability advocacy groups had rallied support. The narrative had shifted from corporate buyout to human rights issue. When the vote came, the board rejected the sale, 9-5. Julian had won. But standing in the empty conference room afterward, victory felt strangely hollow. The company was saved. His reputation would recover. But none of it meant anything without someone to share it with. Julian pulled out his phone and texted the number Sophia had given him for emergencies. "We did it. I couldn't have one without you. Please let me take you to dinner. Tonight." The response came fast. "I can't. I'm sorry." "Why not?" "It's complicated." "Then let's uncomplicate it." "Sophia, this week. I need to see you again. Really see you. Not just at midnight." The typing indicator blinked on and off. "Finally. You don't really want to know me. Trust me on this." "Yes, I do. More than anything." No response. Julian stared at his phone, frustration building in his chest. He could find her. Human resources would have employee records. He could track down every cleaning contractor in the building until... Wait. Cleaning contractor. Sophia worked for whatever company serviced the building. HR would have that information. Julian could finally learn her last name, her address, everything he needed to find her. The thought made him smile for the first time all day. But finding Sophia proved impossible. The building used clean tech services, which employed over 400 people across Seattle. Human Resources cited privacy regulations and refused to share employee information. Security footage only showed team access codes, not individual names or faces. Every lead hit a wall. Why do you need to find her? Julian's assistant asked after the third time he'd called HR. Did she steal something? No. I need to find her. Sir, maybe she doesn't want to be found. The thought haunted Julian. Had he scared Sophia away? Pushed too hard? Or had the connection been one-sided? Something he'd imagined in his desperation and loneliness? Julian tried everything. He hired private investigators who came back empty-handed. He interviewed night security guards who barely remembered the cleaning crews. He even waited in his office at 11 in the evening like a fool, hoping Sophia would appear. But Sophia had vanished as completely as she'd arrived, leaving only memories of Chinese food and wisdom, and the feeling that Julian had lost something irreplaceable. 2 weeks after the board vote, Julian stood at his window at midnight, staring at Seattle's lights scattered across the dark landscape, and remembering the night Sophia had saved his life. This is insane, Julian muttered to himself. 5 conversations. You don't even know her last name. But Julian knew her laugh. The fierce way Sophia spoke about Carmen. How she'd looked at him with those exhausted, knowing eyes and made him feel truly seen for the first time in years. On impulse, Julian grabbed a whiteboard from the conference room and a thick marker. He felt ridiculous but did it anyway, writing in huge letters. Sophia, if you see this, please come back. I need to see you. Julian propped the whiteboard in his window facing outward, knowing it was futile, knowing he looked desperate and probably pathetic. But when something mattered this much, desperate was just another word for honest. Sophia saw the message from the 29th floor. She was cleaning a break room when the words caught her eye, 1 story up, backlit by office lights. Her heart twisted painfully in her chest. For 2 weeks, Sophia had traded shifts with other cleaners, avoided Julian's floor, taken assignments in different buildings across the city. She'd watched from a distance as news of his victory spread across tech blogs and business networks, as his face appeared in interviews, as he rebuilt his life piece by piece. Sophia should have felt proud. Instead, she just felt empty. That for you. Sophia turned to find Keisha, another cleaner on her team, watching her with knowing eyes. What makes you think that? Girl, please. Everyone's talking about how the CEO's been hunting for some mystery woman like a man possessed, and you've been dodging the 30th floor like it's cursed. Keisha smiled knowingly. So what's the story? Sophia gestured at herself. The navy uniform, the yellow cart, the rubber gloves on her hands. Look at me. Then look at him. How does that end well? Maybe better than you think. What are you actually afraid of? That the second he sees me in this uniform, pushing this cart, he'll realize I'm nobody. Just the cleaning lady he never noticed for 2 years. Or maybe he'll realize you're exactly who he's been looking for this whole time. After Keisha left to finish her section, Sophia stood at the window, staring at that message in Julian's window. At the office where he was probably pacing, hoping, searching for her. Sophia thought of their midnight conversations. The way Julian had listened like her words were precious and important. The warmth in his voice when he'd asked her to dinner. The texts she'd ignored out of pure fear. Maybe Sophia owed them both an honest ending. Maybe she owed herself the courage to be seen. Sophia checked her watch. 1:43 in the morning. She finished the break room quickly, pushed her cart to the elevator with trembling hands, and rode up 1 floor. Sophia stood outside Julian's office, hand raised to knock, heart hammering in her chest. Through the glass wall, she could see his silhouette at the window, looking at his ridiculous sign. Sophia knocked. Come in. Sophia opened the door, and Julian Cross turned around. For a frozen moment, he just stared. At her uniform, at the cart, at her face. Sophia watched him connect the dots, watched understanding dawn in his eyes. You clean this building, Julian said slowly. Floors 28 through 30. Every night for 2 years. You've been here. The entire time. 1 floor below me. Yes. Julian started laughing, deep, genuine laughter that shook his shoulders and filled the quiet office. I hired investigators. I harass human resources. I stood here like a fool waiting for you. And you were right downstairs the whole time. One floor away. I'm sorry. Don't. Julian moved toward her, eyes bright with something like joy. Don't apologize. This is God, this is perfect. I've been searching everywhere for this incredible woman who saved my life, and she's been cleaning my office all along. Julian. I fell in love with you, Julian said simply, the words hanging in the air between them. With the woman who brought Chinese food at midnight and asked the right questions and made me want to keep fighting. That woman cleans offices. So what? Sophia's throat tightened with emotion. Our worlds are completely different. Are they? I was going to kill myself, and a cleaning lady talked me down. You think I care about job titles after that? Julian shook his head. You're brilliant and strong and you see past all the corporate nonsense to what actually matters. Those are the things I fell for. Everything else is just noise. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Because what I felt, what we had in those conversations, that was real. Julian stopped in front of her cart, the physical barrier between their worlds. Give me a chance. Please. Let me take you to dinner. Let me meet Carmen. Let me prove that what matters is us, not anything else. Sophia looked at Julian, this man who'd been broken and fought his way back, who'd saved his company and 2,000 jobs, who was looking at her like she was something precious and rare. I have a daughter, Sophia said carefully. She's 7. She comes first. Always and forever. I wouldn't respect you if she didn't. I work 2 jobs. I'm barely keeping my head above water financially. So we'll take it slow. As slow as you need. Why? The question burst out of Sophia before she could stop it. Why me? You could date anyone. Models. Executives. Women from your world. Julian reached across the cart and took Sophia's hand. Rubber gloves and all. Because when I was drowning, you taught me how to swim. Because you're real in a way nobody else in my life is. Because I've never felt more seen than in those conversations with you. Julian squeezed her hand gently. And because, Sophia, I think you're extraordinary. I just want the chance to prove it to you. Tears stung Sophia's eyes. I'm scared. Me too. But we're both good at doing scared things, aren't we? Julian smiled. We're both survivors. Let's try surviving this together. Sophia looked at their joined hands, at the cart between them, at this impossible man offering an impossible chance. She thought of Carmen asking why mommy looked sad all the time. Of years spent invisible, moving through the world like a ghost. Of the moment 2 weeks ago when she'd chosen to speak instead of walking away. Maybe it was time to choose bravery again. Saturday afternoon. Sophia heard herself say, there's a playground near my apartment building. Carmen goes there every weekend. 2 o'clock. You can meet us there. Julian's smile could have lit the entire city. I'll be there. It's not fancy. Sophia, Julian said gently. I don't want fancy. I want real. I want you. Sophia left before she could cry, pushing her cart to the elevator with trembling hands and a racing heart. Behind her, Julian Cross stood in his doorway, watching her go like someone who'd found treasure he thought was lost forever. And in the window behind Julian, that ridiculous sign caught the city lights, proof that sometimes the best things in life are worth looking foolish for. The story of Julian Cross and Sophia Reyes, the billionaire and the cleaning lady who saved each other's lives, would eventually become Seattle legend. Business schools would study it. Romance readers would dream about it. But in that first moment at the playground, with Carmen demonstrating her cartwheel skills and Julian nervously holding a telescope he'd researched extensively, there was only simple truth. So you're the guy who makes Mom smile weird, Carmen said, eyeing Julian critically with her hands on her hips. I'm trying to be, Julian replied honestly. Good. She needs more smiling. She works too hard. Carmen examined the telescope in his hands. Is this a refractor or reflector? Refractor. I wasn't sure which you'd prefer. Reflectors are better for deep space observation, but refractors work great for planets. Carmen's eyes lit up with excitement. Can you see Saturn's rings with this? Absolutely. Want to try tonight when it gets dark? As Carmen launched into an enthusiastic explanation of Saturn's atmospheric composition and ring structure, Sophia watched Julian listen with genuine interest, asking questions and engaging with her daughter like she mattered. Something tight in Sophia's chest finally released. Maybe different worlds could collide after all. Maybe cleaning ladies and billionaires could find common ground. Maybe being truly seen was powerful enough to bridge any gap. "Hey," Julian said softly, catching Sophia's eye over Carmen's head while her daughter paused for breath. "Thank you for showing up, for giving this a chance." "Thank you for seeing me," Sophia replied quietly. "Really seeing me." And in a Seattle playground, surrounded by children's laughter and afternoon sunshine and infinite possibility, they began writing their next chapter together. Because sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes the person you need most is the one you never noticed before. And sometimes, love is just choosing to show up, midnight after midnight, until you both find your way home. What happens when power meets vulnerability? When the invisible become unforgettable? Subscribe for more stories of love, secrets, and second chances, where truth costs more than gold, but love is always worth the price. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story.